Electrocast.
Cars say a lot about who we are.
It represents freedom for a lot of people.
This season on Drive, I'm going to talk to all sorts of different people.
I looked at car names.
Yes.
And
yes.
I found all the car names that have science or astronomically
it's
inspired.
Crazy.
It's huge.
It is. Yes, I happen to be CEO of Ford Motor Company. For me, it's all about cars, movement, and our mutual passion for things that get us around. This is Drive, and I'm Jim Farley.
This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Ewan McGregor stars as Count Alexander Rostov in A Gentleman in Moscow, the new limited series based on the best-selling novel. Stream it on March 29th with the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan. Visit ParamountPlus.com to try it free.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Western demands.
Now, this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you. I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or Whatever Movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris, and I'm here with my older brother,
Wesley.
Today we're talking a movie from 2023, You People, a Netflix original available on Netflix starring Jonah Hill and Lauren London. Not to mention Eddie Murphy and Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Come on, it's a Jewish movie. You got to get the Jewish person's name right.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Eventually you'll get it right just by, if you change it up, there's only so many variations.
You can't make one S silent and then the other pronounceable.
Look, I'm with you.
It was such a weird feeling that Julia Louis-Dreyfus was so cute and yet so just annoying.
The worst. I got many weird, bad feelings during You People.
Weird, bad feelings in a good, provocative way?
I mean, not really. I kept on, we were waiting for Eddie Murphy, right? For a good portion of the movie. Where's Eddie Murphy, right?
I literally asked Brian what felt like halfway through the movie. Is Eddie Murphy in this movie? And he's like, yeah.
But he has to be set up correctly. I was surprised that he wasn't the fast-talking podcaster on Black culture whose daughter gets involved with a not Black guy.
No, he was a very toned down Eddie Murphy. He played this like a racial drama, not like a racial comedy.
Yeah, it was weird. He said that he had a great time playing someone who was very toned down and sedate. I think this is kind of who Eddie Murphy is now. He's very quiet, very reserved, and it's weird.
I've heard this.
It's like he's aging into it or whatever. He gave up the Eddie Murphy laugh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I heard this. I once worked with a voice director who had directed Eddie Murphy, and he said that he came in just stone cold, quiet, reserved, you're not really talking to anybody. Not that he was rude or anything like that, but then the moment that they turned on the recording, he became animated and
really
wild, and then immediately after they were done, he folded back up into himself.
I wonder if people come up to Eddie Murphy and do the laugh and be like, hey, be the character. It's weird. It's weird.
I used to laugh like Eddie Murphy because of Eddie Murphy.
This is like an Eddie Murphy performance where it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Jonah Hill, What's Her Nuts, and Eddie Murphy. It's limited. Is he a main cast member? I feel like he's not.
The mom and the dad play the most important roles in terms of breaking up their marriage, their relationship. So in that sense, they're dominant.
Yeah, in a weird way, it's Jonah Hill's movie, and yet it's so clearly like a hip hop movie. Am I wrong in saying that? Right out of the gate, I'm ashamed to say that I was very annoyed by the credits. It felt like that script, it was working. I have to figure this out.
Yes.
And it was director Kenya Barris who did a number of things, small things. This is his first feature film. And it felt very much like if Eddie Murphy was going to be involved, he was going to take creative control over it. He was going to kind of control or approve who the director was. But this was Jonah Hill's show. And it feels weird to say that. he wrote this role and, starred in it, and I think he produced it. It definitely felt like Jonah Hill is like, okay, I'm going to embrace my love of Black culture and hip hop culture and make a movie about that disparity and in acceptance in that world or whatever. And I like Jonah Hill. I think he's great and he's a funny writer, but when he's so clearly a fish out of water, a lot of it was awkward. Like we were waiting for Eddie Murphy. I was like, when is Ben Stiller going to show up? Because this really uncomfortable thing is like his forte, where it's not funny. It's just like so awkward. And you're like punching yourself in the forehead, trying to get Julia Louis-Dreyfus to stop saying the things she's saying.
Just stop talking.
It's a romantic comedy about fashion and entertainment and sneakers and stuff, and based in LA. So I came up with Sex in Century City.
Sex in Century City. Wow. I came up with You People Can Be Good People.
That's the
full
title?
Which is the moral of the story, yes.
No, I need it to be much more offensive. So when they do all the funny things, like the family is all wacky and stuff, and they have like an Eddie Murphy style dinner where I looked really closely to find out if he was playing any of the other characters around the dinner table or in the barbershop scene.
Right.
And they had to very carefully tailor that barbershop scene so it wasn't an obvious imitation of Coming to America.
How could you? It was like literally the same barbershop.
Except it was in LA and that barbershop was in New York.
I mean, yeah, but like the same layout. Do they all have the same layout?
And so then there was the quirky family dinner scene where Julia Louis-Dreyfus is so painfully white, I guess, and it was the most awkward thing ever. That reminded me of the David Alan Grier parent scene that Eddie Murphy featured in. And so I came up with the alternate title is Jew Meringue.
Jew Meringue. Wow.
This movie felt like it was 5 hours long.
It was pretty long. It was pretty long for it being kind of so predictable. Honestly, though, as kind of bizarre as Eddie Murphy's performance got, I couldn't get enough of him. Like, I just love seeing him. He looks
just leaves
great.
You wanting more, huh?
He gave us that little taste when he and Mike Epps are in the car. No. It's when Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill are in the car, and he mocks Jonah Hill.
About the song?
Well,
oh no, he does an impression.
Yes,
he's like
he does the white man impression.
I'm not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
And it was like just that little tease was like, oh, I know you're in there, Eddie Murphy. Like I want more Eddie Murphy.
I mean, it seemed like he improv'd. There was like a blooper reel and stuff. And of course, you're not going to stop Eddie Murphy if he tries to improv. But most of the stuff that made me laugh were like one-offs that felt very Jonah Hill. I did laugh when she said he looks like a young Hulk Hogan.
Right, with his sister. That's a great sister, like, zing.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. It's like he was not constrained in the role. It's just he was given a role and didn't make it his movie, so he just was himself, and not in a good way.
Eddie Murphy?
Not in the Eddie Murphy way that we're accustomed to.
Like he was a little bit wasted in the role? If you want to talk about wasted in the role, David Duchovny.
I don't know. Kelly Ray said, is that David Duchovny? Like after a while, like he was just a role. Like, yeah, I guess you're right. It was kind of thankless.
Thankless and just a couple one-liners here and there kind of fading into the background.
Yeah. I think that's what David Duchovny does in real life, though.
You know, I feel like he could have been anybody or maybe just a plant. And we would have been like, okay.
Meet the Mohammeds.
That would have been the Ben Stiller version.
Yep.
Well, people have been comparing this to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Have you seen that?
There are multiple versions of that, including Guess Who with Bernie Mac and Ashton Kutcher. I've seen none of them. It's like a cultural experience, and obviously that's what they're trading on. And then it takes a left turn into romance awfully suddenly. And they just started dating, and he's like, how about we get married? Will you marry me? And I was like, whoa.
When you meet your soulmate, bruh.
I guess.
Well, maybe that was part of the problem. I think across the board with this film was that their relationship, their courtship felt very superficial. It didn't justify them kind of jumping into marriage. Even their chemistry, like I think their chemistry was fine, but I don't think we ever see them kiss.
We did a couple times.
Really? I mean, they felt so chaste. I mean,
Dude.
I felt like I'm not interested necessarily in seeing Jonah Hill naked, but I felt like a good awkward sex scene would have been really funny.
Dude, I didn't even consider it. And then you put that image in my head.
The sex was superficial. The characters, event overall, right, were no more than just their cringe-worthy, inappropriate dialogue. And even for movie and podcasters that deal with culture, do you feel like we ever really went deep into an LA culture or a racial culture in like a true sense?
No, it was like a commentary or an examination of a racial relationship, but I don't think it really pushed much at all. As a matter of fact, maybe to the contrary, they so thoroughly, the only reason they checked themselves is they're like, oh, because I realized I'm being an a-hole and you don't deserve that and that sucks and I'm going to try to be better. But they were pretty consistently horrible to each other the entire time. We had to do the thing where Eddie Murphy gets put in his place and then Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who wasn't cruel. I would venture to say that Eddie Murphy was deliberately mean, but Julia Louis-Dreyfus was so clueless, and that's certainly not a justification. She was confused, and when she was like, oh, tears, now you're going to start crying, right? I was like, yeah, she has no clue what she's doing wrong.
Even though she was turning herself into the victim and making it about her?
I guess, I don't know, man, because it's difficult for me to approach this movie from a position of knowledgeable discourse in terms of respectful acknowledgement of racial, cultural differences. Kelly Ray was like, she turned to me and she was like, maybe you guys shouldn't review this.
Like a cultural, racial minefield?
Right, because I'm going to say something like Jew meringue.
Right, exactly, which you did. I feel like I'm not really too worried about it because my beef isn't with how it deals with race. I've probably heard in some form or fashion all of the kind of weird things that people said in this movie over the course of my lifetime growing up in LA. But that's not my problem with the film. I think my problem with the film is that this is a comedy, right? So like,
if you have to ask, then I don't know.
Come hell or high water, we're going to end this thing with a wedding, right? So we know where we're going. And yet the theme of the film was you people, even though you people are racist and you people are other than me, the message was, but you can also be good people. And if you are a good person, then I guess it's okay if you marry my daughter or you marry my son. But did you feel like this movie was fresh in its take on race and racism?
I felt like it was too fresh. It touched on contemporary themes and it felt very woke and it felt like, it felt like the kind of movie where Eddie Murphy would be horrified if you told him in 30 years, this is what you're going to be doing.
I think the intention was it to feel very contemporary. And yet I felt like the theme was very regressive. This is like the anti-Romeo and Juliet. Shouldn't the message not be, okay, if you're a good person, you're allowed to be in my family? Shouldn't the message be, love conquers all, love rises above?
I mean, I guess, and it's a lovely notion, but they're still going to have all the cultural problems moving forward.
Yeah, but the fact that it was the cultural and filial problems that broke them up, and then also the families that brought them together and basically planned their wedding for them, like it made these two characters, it made love feel weak, whereas this movie had a really incredible opportunity to explore an intercultural, interracial love relationship and what that really means. I mean, love comes in many forms, but they could explore that. They really do unite over culture. But I mean, when people were like, I can't see what my daughter would see in you, like, I was kind of like, well, yeah, what is the basis for their love? And why is it so why does it not rise to the occasion?
Yeah, we have to find a common ground so that the colors disappear. And we never really got that chance. I think that if it had been an early Spike Lee level examination of race and love interdynamics, then it might have, I don't know if you consider like movies like Jungle Fever or Do the Right Thing, are they comedies? I don't know. But this one seemed to land squarely in perceived comedy territory, whereas if they had dug a little bit deeper or taken some real risks, then it might have been remembered for something greater than a simple, I hate to say it, Lovebirds level, fish out of water kind of romantic comedy. Because that's the kiss of death right there.
Kumail Nanjiani, Lovebirds, Issa Rae, Lovebirds, the worst movie you've ever seen, Lovebirds?
Yes, for many reasons. Listen to our podcast, available now at Or Whatever Movies. Look, here's a microcosmic example of this movie. Because you remember when you didn't remember if they kissed at all?
Yeah.
That kiss at the end at their wedding was completely CGI.
What? What do you mean?
I don't know. Why? I don't know, man. They got into position. They moved as though to kiss and stopped. And then for whatever reason, CGI pushed him in. And to be perfectly honest, like you would think that Kumail and Issa would like do interviews and stuff together. And maybe they did for press junkets. I've never seen these two in interviews together or anything promoting. It's weird. And the fabricated nature of this romance shows. Like you didn't feel any real chemistry or any realism in their intimacy. And the awkwardness and the horribleness where I saw them together and it was difficult for me to believe that Eddie Murphy and Julia Louis-Dreyfus would, as their characters or whatever, would be able to tolerate each other enough to sit down and work it out, especially planning a wedding. Can you imagine the two of them planning a wedding, which, by the way, was the biggest misstep that this movie made? What you don't do as old racist people is plan your kids' wedding.
Exactly. And was their schism so simply fixed? Like, oh, my mom's cool with it. Okay, yeah. Let's do this. Well, my dad's cool with it. So yeah, let's actually go into this next room over here and get married.
Oh.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Life is hard, but finding a really great podcast makes the days go by so much easier. Hi, my name is Blue Telusma. I'm a writer, an emotional intelligence coach, and the host of Humanize with Blue Telusma, a podcast where we believe that when you humanize everyone in the room, a great conversation is almost guaranteed. Join us every week here on Electricast as me and my guest co-hosts unpack big topics and interview even bigger personalities with a sense of humor and a dash of mischief. If you're looking for a new best friend in your head, we've got you covered. Electricast.
It made the characters in that sense feel inactive. I felt like it was a weird message to say. I feel like the takeaway was, regardless if you're white or if you're black, you can still be a good person, as opposed to, okay, that this love is real and this love will sustain, it will manage.
I take it back. Them planning the wedding was not the biggest misstep of this movie. The biggest misstep of this movie is trying to convince us that they could immediately buy a house in LA on a podcaster salary.
Well, he was in finance for 10 years.
It was a nice house, and it was completely and immediately interiorly designed.
Minimum, how much would it cost to buy that house in LA?
That house, for wherever it was located, it was nice and cute. If it's anywhere, if it's within 50 miles of Century City, that thing was $750, $800 minimum with the additional decoration and stuff. It was easily $1 million all told.
I think it's I think you're being probably double that.
I'm ignorant, and that's scary for me.
It's pretty bad. Remember that episode of Rock? He was a garbage collector.
Chuck Dutton, yeah.
Charles Dutton, yeah. Remember when they save up to buy a house and then they go to like a house auction, and then like the moment it opens up, he makes his bid and is immediately outbid and immediately doesn't have another chance?
Okay. Is that how it really is?
That's what buying a house in LA is like. You're like, all right, I'm putting it all in. I'm giving it my best shot, best foot forward. And people are like, ha, all cash, 20% over asking.
So that's disheartening because I'm trying to consider the idea of the possibility of potentially one day, ideally speaking, purchasing a home. But it's actually encouraging because you pulled out of your butt the Charles S. Dutton early 90s show Rock. Which I loved.
Me too. Who didn't love Rock?
We're there. We saw the boomerangs and we saw all the Eddie Murphy stuff, and we are maybe I'm too old for it, but we grew up immersed in a melting pot LA culture, And so we know a lot of the stuff. Like, I don't think that Jonah Hill is clueless. I think that him putting it all on the table is maybe not enough for this audience in terms of, I mean, he's well aware of what he called the culture that Eddie Murphy mocked him for or whatever, but he's got some of it, and I feel like I caught some of it. I felt good about myself when he said, like, you Debo'd your way in. I was like, I know what that reference is.
Ooh, tell me.
It was from Friday. Debo was Tiny Lister Jr.
Maybe, you know what? I've been wanting to watch and review that one.
Friday?
Yeah, we've talked about this.
It's just asking for trouble. I mean, I'm not sure if we're qualified. So let's continue this discussion in the form of questions, interview questions for you.
Okay.
Shall we? I mean this with all seriousness. Is pulling off a black woman's wig offensive?
Sorry, Wes, I had the same question. It sure seemed like it. It seemed horrifying.
I mean, I've worked on so many black reality TV shows. They don't make secrets about wearing wigs, but I guess if they get it snatched off when they're not prepared, they get really upset about it.
So was Eddie Murphy kidding when he said that he had the nappiest hair in that cafe or wherever they were?
I don't know, but he is allowed to say it. And the black characters can say things in this movie, which is my next question. Is it okay or is it racist? And would it be racist the other way around? This is not a joke. I'm being sincere. When he was like, this is your white grandfather coming back to haunt me. If Julia Louis-Dreyfus had said, who is this black woman? You know, like, would that be acceptable in the context of this movie? Because definitely he harped on him being white almost constantly, and I don't think it's reversible.
I don't know how you think I'm any kind of authority on this, but I think that the point here is that Jonah Hill is embracing black and urban culture.
Yes.
And yet he's not black. And so maybe if like Amira was like whitewashing and trying to pretend, you know, and trying to assimilate, right, and be very banana in the tailpipe, then, you know, maybe it would have been, maybe the problem or the onus would be on her. But also there's like a Black Lives Matter thing when white people got all lives matter, where it's like, yeah, but like right now we're talking about black lives. So we're not saying that all lives don't matter. We're just saying that right now we're talking about black lives.
So by hyper-fixating on this point, I might be overlooking the point, the actual point of the movie.
Which is?
Did Jonah Hill write a screenplay in which the black parents can outwardly loathe the whites as a race?
I mean, maybe if they have a turn and recognize that Jewish people can also be good people.
I guess so. There definitely was that turn where both of them got their comeuppance and saw the other side and made amends.
Exactly. Not that love conquers all, but rather that maybe you can be a good person and still be not white or not black.
Isn't it willful ignorance to not have seen Forrest Gump, regardless of your race?
I mean, could you say the same thing about any of Spike Lee's movies?
I guess so. I've seen a number of them, but certainly not all of them, like the Coen brothers.
Okay, speaking of movie references, I have a question/challenge for you.
Okay.
3 ways that you people is like The Hangover. There are more than 3 ways, so I'm going easy on you.
Does one of the white guys get clocked by a black guy?
Are you referring to Mike Tyson knocking out Zach Galifianakis?
Yeah. Oh, Mike Epps for sure.
Mike Epps.
How is it like The Hangover?
I'll give you one. He was definitely channeling his Zach Galifianakis.
Jonah Hill was?
With the beard and the hair?
I don't know, man. I mean, I've seen Jonah Hill in this kind of mode before where his eyebrows are blonde and suddenly he's a surfer. I think that's real life. And he's like, if I'm going to play like this character that's the opposite of black culture as much as I embrace it, then how about I do the new Jonah Hill surfer with the worst hairdo ever kind of thing?
I was so distracted.
And I think that was his natural hair, his natural clothes, and all his real tattoos.
And natural eyelashes?
Yeah.
Like distractingly blonde eyelashes?
Yeah, no, I think it's all sun bleached, and I think it's real.
It's so bizarre. Well, they literally ripped Grandma's Holocaust ring from The Hangover.
Oh, yeah? Oh.
You can't just go all Holocaust ring into bachelor party movies.
Maybe there's lots of Holocaust rings.
I don't think a lot of those made it out of there.
I mean, was this a comedy? I guess so. It seems like that's how it's going. I mean, he has Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy not in a comedy? I know he's made some. I know he went all Jim Carrey for a few movies, but that's his jam. And it took a total devolving into slapstick and the Koofy stomp before Kelly Ray laughed. And I think because it was firmly in check by the horrible awkwardness of each family interaction and cultural dynamic shifts. It was more awkward than The Fabelmans.
Cringe Fest Spring 2023.
Really awkward.
I did laugh at, hey, can I get an ETA on those potatoes?
I laughed at Hood Tron. I don't know why. Tron was like the last. They wanted to make the wedding like a Hood Tron. That was funny. I don't know. Like, do white people like Tron or something?
Black people like Tron. I think that was the point.
Not quite the Lovebirds or whatever, because I didn't hate it, but I was on the fence.
Wow.
I struggled with this one, and I can't ultimately get behind it. And I don't think this worked as a comedy, as a drama, as moving the cultural needle, as a justifiable, like, you do your thing, Jonah Hill. It's nice to see you writing your own stuff or whatever, a la Seth Rogen, but I'm not going to watch it again. Like, I feel like it was just, I think it was below the line and it was whatever, but it was like, whatever. It's on Netflix and it seems like a perfect plane movie.
Perfect plane movie?
Yeah, a movie to watch on the plane.
Oh, right. Yeah, captive audience movie?
Yeah, exactly. But not captive like the Holocaust or like slavery.
A little bit of a missed opportunity, a little bit of a waste of some of these really talented performers. But that's not my beef with you people. It's, I think the missed opportunity for a really, you know what? I think maybe I got the theme of this movie wrong. I thought the theme should be love conquers all. I thought that the theme was you racist people can actually be good people. But I think the theme is, I think it's what Mo says, which is ultimately black people and white people can't get along. I didn't see this wonderful possibility of what interracial love could look like.
Did you give your rating?
I don't think this is, I mean, we didn't rate. Did you? You didn't even rate Coming to America.
Oh man, you're afraid of assigning a rating to a racially sensitive movie.
Yeah. I have paralyzing fear that I said a whole bunch of racist stuff a la Julia Louis-Dreyfus today, and I'm terrified that I am actually that person.
Oh man. Now if you had just put all those horrible things down on paper, it would be a greenlit produced screenplay featuring Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy. I was wondering, I thought it was inspiration. We should review UP. It's an Eddie Murphy movie that no one seems to be talking about. Now I know why.
Yeah, I should have known the moment that he made his entrance where it's totally built up and there's this like awesome music playing and he's like walking in and we're filming him and following him from behind. But then it was completely unmotivated. I should have known at that moment what kind of Eddie Murphy film this was going to be.
Man.
So there you have it. That's our discussion on You People, available on Netflix. But you know that because you've already checked it out, which is why you are here listening to this discussion. Did you know that there are 200 plus other movies that you've seen that we've discussed at orwhatevermovies.com? No? Well, go check them out. Give us a 5-star rating. It helps other people find us. If you'd like to get in touch, 818-835-0473 or whatevermovies at gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
We are a multiracial podcast.
Hey there, I'm DC. I host the rock podcast Back to the Arena, The Interviews. It's about a 30-minute podcast where I talk one-on-one with a band who has released new music. You can find us on all the best podcast sites like Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, and more. If you're a rock fan like me, subscribe today to Back to the Arena, The Interviews.
Electricast. Welcome, explorers of the human experience. This is Let's Talk Soul, and I'm your host, Claudia Monticelli. We're not afraid of the great mysteries of existence here. Soul versus consciousness, we're on it. Spirituality versus science, we've got that covered too. Join us in navigating these profound topics with wisdom, curiosity, and a dash of audacity. Whether you're a spiritual veteran or just starting your journey, Let's Talk Soul is your passport to the unknown. Let's Talk Soul, diving into the depths of the human spirit. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Electricast.